Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of What Has Changed Your Life. I'm kind of excited about tonight because I met Alicia in Toronto. Well, actually, we didn't meet officially. I saw her on the big screen when we were at this 3-day conference in Toronto for empowerment of women and things like that. And Rachel Hollis was the host of this conference, and she went out into the audience. And who does she pick out of the audience but Alicia to talk about how to go from A to B? And she gets up there and announces to 2,000, I think there was like 2,000, 3,000 women in this audience, what she wanted to do. And it was to dance on a stage in front of all of the people. And her dream came true. It came true with hard work. It came true with persistence. And so I've been dying to talk with her in person, sort of virtual. So welcome, Alicia. Thank you for joining us on an episode of What Has Changed Your Life.
Oh, thank you so much, Tracy. This is an honor to be on the show and just, yes, to meet you in person and, to meet another Rise sister. And so, yes, thank you so much.
And so tell me how that experience was for you. I mean, here's like a whole stadium full of people, and she comes over to you and she's like, come on stage with me and tell me what your dream is.
Yeah.
How did that feel for you?
I mean, to this day, I still have no idea how or what internally made me say dance on stage. I'm not sure. So obviously it was something very deep inside that just wanted to come out. I mean, I think the experience was really surreal at the moment, in the moment, because it just, I honestly I didn't know why she had picked me. I'm like, I didn't raise my hand. There was nothing that said, hey, choose me.
Choose me. I'm over here.
It was one of those, I'm like, no, don't pick me kind of thing. But yeah, I think like it was definitely a whirlwind experience of when it had happened, and it took me probably a couple of days to really even process what had happened. So yeah.
Now, it sounded to me, if I remember correctly, so correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, it was at a point in your life where things weren't quite where you wanted them to be. You were a little bit down at that point in your life.
I think, like, I mean, one of the questions she had kind of asked was, whether I had a personal goal. And I kind of gave her really a very vague, like, comment, and just said, I want to get healthier. I want to, like, have more energy and stuff. Right. But then, in Rachel's style, she kind of was prodding a little bit more and was kind of like, what does that mean? Right. Like, cause that's quite so general, like when you kind of say that. And in all honesty, like, I didn't really know what exactly I was wanting, just feeling like I didn't love where I was at, though, physically, especially. And of course, then like that leads to emotionally as well, that you just don't feel as connected to who you are. Right. So
yeah. And then you announced to all of us, I'm going to teach Zumba. Right?
Yeah, which is again really like so crazy to even think. Like, I mean, I had taken a few Zumba classes and that, but like, when she was asking me, what do you want to do actually to reach this goal? And I'm like, I don't know. I enjoy Zumba. It was like, and I think that was sort of how I even said it. I'm like, Zumba?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think I've always loved dancing in my kitchen when nobody else is watching, and I love music. But yeah, to now, like, say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, is become a Zumba instructor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. But that journey has led you, because then all of a sudden COVID hit, right? Because it was literally within, I want to say like a week, Toronto, like Ontario shut down, because I know you're in Niagara.
Yep.
Everything just went poof, shut down. The whole world closed.
Yeah.
Because one of the things she had said at that conference was that you were going to do a opening exercise class, basically, because that's what they do. They do an open exercise. Everybody dances and has fun at the next big conference, which was massive conference.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
10,000
then,
women.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's supposed to
And
be
then
in,
it got canceled.
yeah. So it's supposed to be in San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was like, I mean, in hindsight now, it's like the whole, just even the experience of, being at Toronto and then having a pandemic, like, the week after is like kind of mind blowing still. That
I
like,
know.
um, and then to think that, she was saying like, and the plan was like in 3 months' time for me to become a Zumba instructor and then lead a class in front of 10,000 women. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I think everything has had its time and has been appropriate. Like, because in reality, 3 months time, it wouldn't have been possible. Like, I think it would have been such a huge challenge. Like, especially the
Mm-hmm.
journey I've been on and how to date, and that it's now 20 months, and that has
Mm-hmm.
kind of taken as opposed to 3 months, such a short time period.
Yeah. That would have been a very daunting task, I would imagine.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, that it would have I think it would have really challenged me very much outside of my comfort zone. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah.
And one of the things I've noticed from watching your posts and things like that is you are so open about who you are, body image. You get raw and real when you're talking about your journey. And I
Mhm,
want to go into that because I know body image is so, it's, I take a deep breath because it always makes me feel heavy when I think about all the stereotypes that women get, sucked into,
mhm.
right? And I
Yep.
love how you're real and raw about where you are and where you've been. And how did you get comfortable doing that? How did you get comfortable expressing that on for everyone to see?
I mean, it was really a process. Like, I kind of when everything had happened, I hadn't really been on social media. Like, I wasn't, I had accounts and stuff, but like posted very randomly, usually like, your top 9 at the end of the year or something like
Yeah.
that. Like, but I wasn't very engaged in social media. And so then this was an additional piece of challenge for me to, showcase or not even showcase, but just even like share the journey of me going through this. Um, I think part of it was really for me to really be able to heal the parts of myself and get comfortable with who I am. Um,
Mm-hmm.
was a day-to-day practice, and that like it literally, I fumbled all over. It's funny now when I look back at those videos and just I think what I really wanted to share was I was hoping that if I was kind of doing it day to day, that maybe others who have been struggling or were finding it difficult to get motivated to move would be
Mm-hmm.
able to at least see the possibility through my story to do it for themselves as well. And that's still today.
Yeah.
That's sort of where I'm wanting to still continue to show that. It's really just to allow, especially women, just to allow
Mm-hmm.
other women to know that, you know, if you show up, I mean, there's bad days, there's good days, and that's why I kind of show both in that, that it is a journey. It's not like, I'm not in it for the quick fix or the, immediate results and stuff. It really is a process in order to devolve the things that I was trained to think back in the days, or to even
Mm-hmm.
work on the mindset in that in order to get healthier and to be able to appreciate and love myself, love the body that I've been given, and really own that. And so, yeah, I would say for others in that, like, it really does just takes time. It takes grace and patience with yourself as
Mm-hmm.
well. Um,
Yes.
so
And
yeah,
I love how you said it's a journey.
yeah.
It isn't a quick fix,
Mm-mm.
right? And that's the thing I think that's really important for women to hear is it's not a quick fix, it's a journey.
Yeah.
And so what are some of the things that people would say to you as a young person that stuck with you that you're trying to shift now?
I think like a lot of like my wiring growing up and that um was very based on sort of like, what like society is saying, like, what healthy means. And that
Mm,
usually is like, you look thin, or like, you kind of look like a supermodel. Like that's the image that was portrayed, at least while I was growing up, that's what you should be striving for. Because if you don't look like that, then that means that you aren't healthy, or that you don't look a certain way that society accepts you as. um,
mm-hmm,
so yeah, so that's some of that messaging. Some of the other things would be just sort of the fact that if you're overweight, that means you're lazy, or that you don't take
mm,
care of yourself, or that you don't love yourself, or like all those sort of like negative limiting beliefs as well.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, and I think like um yeah, I think just those are sort of some of the stories that I kept hearing, or at least whether it's even necessarily, like, I've been thinking a lot about it lately. Some of it's
mm-hmm.
not even necessarily that we've been directly told. A lot of it is subconsciously we're absorbing, whether it's from external sources like magazines or media or like television, different sources in that, right? And so
Yeah.
we perceive it a certain way based on how our worlds have been structured, and
Mm-hmm.
that also affects like what our mindset is like. So
Well, like even something as simple as the Barbie doll,
yes, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Blonde, thin,
yeah,
proportioned appropriately,
right,
right?
right, yeah,
Everybody loves Barbie.
yes, right, right,
And
like,
then for the men, you have Ken.
yeah,
That's what they have to live up to. The muscles, the abs, you know,
yeah, isn't that messed up?
right?
I think that's so messed up.
It's so messed up. And even just as something as simple as I was listening to a podcast and they were saying, and I didn't recognize it until I actually went to Shoppers and I looked on the shelf and they were talking about the pardon me, even for on shampoo and
Oh,
children's body wash,
yeah,
girl, boy, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
the difference in the messaging, girls have to be soft and they have to be, this and demure and,
nice,
nice and right. And boys have to be rough and tough and this and that, right? It's on the shampoo bottles,
yeah. So
right?
it's no wonder, right? We're getting such wrong messaging that that's what we think we should be. And then when
Right.
you aren't those things, then like all of a sudden you feel like there's something wrong with you.
And
Right?
you are lesser than. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you overcome that? How do you think women should overcome that type of messaging? What would your advice be?
Yeah, I think, I mean, based on what I've been going through, and again, I would just reiterate that it has been a journey. So this has been 20 months of just me really focusing on working on myself, and um, learning about the parts of me that are actually uniquely me, and to
Mm,
be embracing that more. Um,
yeah.
I recently had just posted in that, like, actually about my hair and that, right? It was such a random thing in that, but it was one of those like epiphany moments that I was like, so I was born, my hair is actually naturally wavy and that, which is
Okay.
very, which is not normal, I guess. Not the word normal, but like it's not it's not typical in Chinese women, and that like
Right.
we have very straight hair, and then
Right.
but for some reason I have wavy hair, and so I've always like worked to like straighten it out, because it was never like nice curly ringlets, or like just beautiful that way. It was just
It's kind of like this.
like it's just like huge and like all over and unruly and hard to tame and everything. And so it's like working hard to like straighten it out. And so then the one day I just decided, I said, you know what? Like I'm actually going to embrace the waves in my hair and actually
Yeah.
try to accentuate the strength. and that, right, like if I can look at this thing that I've been given that is uniquely me and
Yes.
to strengthen it, and that it actually worked out better than me trying to do the opposite of me, like spending so much time trying to straighten it out, trying to look like others, and like, and
Mm-hmm.
so that was a big moment that I was like, if we can, say with our bodies, with our even different things that we're trying to improve, and that it's more about actually looking at what are your strengths and
Mm-hmm.
actually leaning into your strengths more instead
Mm.
of trying to make our weaknesses better. And so it's one of those, it's a weird dichotomy, I guess, in that, right? Like this thinking of what I think we've been raised to think, like we have to get better at everything. We have to be good at everything. So then we
Yeah.
spend all this time on our weaknesses, but then we disregard that there's certain things that we've been gifted that we're really great at. And so I think the
Yeah.
more that we can do that, like, and embrace like our good qualities, actually that is going to make us stronger, and then appreciate who we've been made to be, a lot
Yeah.
more than trying to focus on the other thing. And that, so that
And
would be,
creating something, a persona that doesn't exist,
yeah, yes,
right? Because
yes,
we're trying to please the masses, I guess,
hmm, hmm,
right? Instead of doing what exactly you're saying, which is embrace our uniqueness,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because whose approval are we looking for anyway?
right. Who says that's right, or who says that's wrong, right? And so,
Yeah,
but yeah, yeah.
I
So
agree with that. Yeah.
yeah. So I would say for others that are trying to, like, on that journey, is to, yeah, lean into like what are the things that you're good at, or what are the things that, make you uniquely you, and that like maybe, you, I don't know, you have strong arms, and that, like, maybe like work on that more, as opposed to being like, oh, well, no, like I gotta figure out on this belly part here or this other part. And like, just some of those things. If we can focus on that. I mean, the other piece really is just to be consistent. Like, it's the
Hmm.
piece of consistency over intensity, right? Like I think that's where some of the diet culture and that fails, is that we, the whole January 1st, we're making New Year's resolutions, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you want to change everything. Um,
Yeah.
like, right, like you go from 0 to 100, and then all of a sudden it like becomes so daunting because you've now changed, like, a million things, and it becomes unsustainable. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that I've learned in this journey has been to pick the one thing and then just
Mhm.
slowly build on it. Like when I first started the Zumba part, and that, like, I honestly couldn't even do 5 minutes of Zumba. Like I was really out of shape. I
Yeah.
couldn't, just I didn't have the stamina or the energy to do it. And so I just kept building. Like, I think I did like 5 minutes and that for like a good month, and that, like, and so it's just keep going slowly and be
Hmm.
okay that the progress may not appear right away, but if you
Mm.
showing up every day over time, and that, then you'll see the fruits of your labor, and that, right? Like, I mean, I look back in my videos, I would say probably like 8 or 9 months. There probably wasn't a visible change, but I
Hmm.
kept going. I kept showing up every day. I kept showing up and pressing play on different videos to work out. But it wasn't until around that 9 months that it was like, oh, I'm starting to see different areas of my body changing and shifting.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's really, I think the encouragement is just for people to not lose heart in, when you're making baby steps, and that
Yeah.
that continue to make baby steps, because that's what's going to keep the sustainability going. And that's,
Yes.
yeah,
Small steps swing big doors,
yes, yes,
right? Small, consistent steps will swing that big door open at some point.
yeah, yeah.
And there are days where it sucks and it's hard,
Oh yeah, yes,
right?
absolutely.
And there
Yeah,
are days where you're like, what am I doing?
yes. There are
Right?
many days like that that you're like, ah. You're
This is hard.
like, I find myself, I'm like either like crying or just laughing my head off because that's the only way I can sustain getting through it
Yeah,
is by doing that. But yeah, there are definitely crappy days. And you're just like, I don't really want to be here and I don't want to do this at all. But
yeah,
I know that if I even do this little bit, it gets me that much more ahead, because
yeah,
as soon as you stop in that's where then all of a sudden it becomes so much harder to build back up that momentum, right, to get going
yes,
again. So
yes. And digging deep,
mm,
because in this culture of COVID and people are just slowly getting back to the gym. And there are a lot of people out there that don't even want to go back to the gym.
yeah,
They're afraid to because of COVID. I
yeah,
get it. I totally understand it.
yeah,
Um, what would you say to those people that are like, okay, I want to work out, but I really find it hard to work out at home alone? How
yeah.
would you get what would you say to that person that's saying that to you?
The alone piece for sure is a challenge. I mean, I think one of the things that has really helped me in my journey has been the accountability of others. So really
Mm,
rallying yourself around a community. I mean, in this day and age, which is great, we can have virtual communities that you can have others that, and I would say like most of my journey has been like just having people like yourself that I hadn't met, but have been rooting me on throughout this time, for me to be able to get to where I am right now. And so to be able to find, a community of like-minded people that you feel safe to be able to trust them and just say, hey, I'm struggling today. I really I really don't want to work out, but that they're there and they'll push you. Like they'll be like, come on, I'm going to do it as well. Like let's press play together, or like, something
yeah,
like that. So, yeah.
that's nice. That's really awesome because
Yeah.
we all need those champions
Yeah.
for us, right?
Yeah.
We all need those people that say, "Hey, you can do it. You're
Yeah.
getting there.
Exactly.
Woohoo!"
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Or if those days when you're struggling and you're on there and you're crying and your hair's a mess and you're like, and then you've got people saying, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to not be okay
Yeah. Yeah.
because we're not going to be okay all the time.
Exactly. Right. Like, and that's what
Right?
I think one of the beauties of community is to know that, that you're not alone, right? Like that
Mm-hmm.
it helps to, I feel like the more we can shine light into those dark areas, those areas where we feel like we're struggling by ourselves, that it's not good to talk about those things, those are the areas that we actually need to be talking more into, because it
Yeah.
helps to normalize it and it doesn't, take us into this area of shame or guilt, and that you feel like, oh, I can't believe, like, I don't have, I hate the word willpower. I don't have willpower to like work
Mm-hmm.
out or whatever, right? And it's like, no, no, it's okay. Like we all feel that sometimes.
Yeah.
And like, but you're gonna press play today anyways, and that because we're here for you. And so, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think like that's one of those areas, and that if we can, find a person in that to be sort of your accountability person, or a community of people,
Mm-hmm.
that has like, yeah, that's got great power and stuff, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Because, like you said, we're going to have those days where we're like, no way. No way am I pressing play. And then you're like, come on,
Right.
let's do it.
Yeah. And I would say, like, I mean, I haven't at the end of any workout have said, "Oh, shoot, I really wish I hadn't pressed play," right? Like
Yeah.
that has never left my mouth afterwards, and that, but there's more times of the be if I didn't press play, then there's the regret of not doing it and stuff, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. And moving your body in different ways,
Yeah. Yes.
right? So you don't need to like necessarily just pick Zumba. You can pick Zumba, you can pick bar, you can lift weight. Like there's all kinds of different things, ride a bike outside. Like there's all kinds of different things that
Yeah.
people can do that move their body.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would challenge people to start to discover different methodologies, and that, like, like part of my journey was I started with Zumba and then realized that I needed other things in that in order to just even like stay motivated or variety. And so then I
Mm-hmm.
started with Beachbody and like started with a bunch of different programs. Some of them I loved, some of them I didn't love. I actually one of the programs I really loved was a boxing workout,
Oh
which
yeah.
rounds, which then like it's fun because then it tap into an area that you didn't know you actually love. Like, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's, so if you don't try different things, you never know, like, what things light you up and what things don't light you up, right? Like, you'd be like, oh, well,
Mm-hmm.
that one I don't really enjoy. And so you're like, I'm going to try a different thing. And so yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
giving yourself the permission to think of it actually more as play. Like, I'm going to just play with this workout and see how it goes. And if I like it, I'm going to continue. If I don't like it, I have the permission to say, okay, I tried it. I'm going to move on to something else.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Because there's all kinds of workouts all over the place,
yeah, yeah,
right? That you can try. And it's just about moving your body in a way that's fun. Because if it's not fun, you're not going to like it. You're going to
that's true.
quit.
Yeah,
But if it's fun,
yeah,
it becomes easy in a sense,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And you'll do it over and over again because you're like, that was fun. I had a
exactly.
great time with that,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
totally.
And that's and also finding something that works for your body,
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. And
I think that's so important.
I think also honoring sort of like, depending on the person, where you are in what stage in life and that, right? Like, and being okay with, okay, like, I mean, I'm going to be turning 50 this year, and like, yeah,
When's your birthday?
December. So in a month,
December what?
9th.
Shut up. I'm the 10th.
Oh, no way. Oh, we're going to have to like, we're going to have to get on a call and like, and have like a birthday party.
That's right. The 50s.
Yes,
Woo!
that's amazing.
1971 represent.
That's amazing. So
That's
good.
hilarious.
So good.
Oh
Right?
my God.
So it's realizing that, like, I think when I first started, like, I was beating myself up in that because I was like, oh, I should be able to be doing this workout. Like, because in
Mm-hmm.
my mind, I keep thinking I'm like my 20-year-old self or my 30-year-old self. And then I'm like, oh no, who am I kidding? Like, I'm like 49. And it's like, okay, owning that, right, that's where I'm at in my life, and being
Yeah.
okay with that, and like,
Yeah.
yeah, tailoring the workout to like what your body can handle, and then you can slowly build up, like, right. And so
Yep.
you're not beating yourself up in that, thinking that I need to be that 20-year-old young person that is like, working out 20 hours a day. so,
Yeah. Yeah.
so,
Well, and that's just not realistic, right? Work and this and that, that's just not realistic for most of us at this point in our lives,
exactly, exactly,
right?
yeah.
What I'm going to ask a different question. What do you think about turning 50?
um so
It's a loaded question,
it
I know.
well So I've always had, well, I won't say always. I would say probably like, I don't know, my late 20s, and that till now I've had a love-hate relationship with my age. Um,
Mm,
Part of it is because, again, this is where I feel like sort of life expectations, life milestones, and that I didn't actually achieve. So, for example, I'm not married. I've never been married. I don't have kids, and so some of those things, like, the boxes that you get to check off, and that, like, that I felt like, okay, like, in my late 20s I should be getting married, and then in my 30s I'll have kids, and then, like, and all these things, and then those didn't happen. And so then it kind of caused this internal battle, that I felt like I'm less than, that I felt like
mm,
I didn't get to do these things, or that there's something wrong with me. and I didn't get to achieve those things. And so that's why I didn't love getting older, because then it just made me feel more of a failure because I didn't do those things. And so, but so since this journey has started though, and I've been really owning who I am and owning where I am in the stage of life that I'm at, um, I'm actually really excited to turn 50, which is like, to me, is a huge moment, and just even something to celebrate, that I've now been able to get my mindset into a place where I'm happy to be where I am, because that's just that's where I'm supposed to be, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
it's like,
Yeah.
why try to avoid it, or why try to, I used to shy away from telling people how old I was. And because, I don't tend to look as old as I say I am in that. And so that's always been in my favor. I could be like, oh yeah, I'm in my, late 30s, early 40s. and stuff.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
no, but it's such a funny, like, mind thing, like, that you just
Mm,
play with yourself and that. And
yeah.
so I'm like, you know what? I earned every age in that. Like, I've done so many things that I should be proud of, that got me to being able to turn 50. And so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yay.
which is so cool.
Yay.
That's
That
awesome.
is cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm just going to unpack something a little bit here. So when you were talking about younger and all these different milestones that you thought you had to meet, the status quo,
Mhm.
was there backlash? Did you feel that from people because you didn't meet those things?
Um, I mean, my parents have been great. Like, they've never put pressure on me to have to get married or to have kids and that. And so that's been really great. But there would be a cultural expectation. Like, so, if I'm out with, like, my family, with, like, their friends, or like, there'll be little comments, like,
Mm,
different things of like, oh, well, are you dating, or are is it getting serious, like, things like that. And you're just like, I don't even know why you're asking these things, like,
yeah,
because then that's where the inadvertent pressure gets put on you, because then you feel like, oh, right, okay, I should be doing these things, I should be further along in this journey of the things to check off on my list that I haven't checked off. And so each time a person asks me something like that, then it just kind of, it's like this little jab in the heart of like, oh yeah,
mm.
it's you didn't get that yet. So yeah.
But what if your list is completely different than everyone else's? What's wrong with that?
And that's where I think I've now learned to accept that's
Yeah.
where my journey is, and just even where some of the things that I desire to do, actually having a family is actually more complicated. And like, I probably wouldn't be able to do those things. Like, I love traveling. I love being
Hmm.
able to, like, go on a whim and do the things that I want. I tend to be more free spirited, carefree. So I don't love being caged and structured too much. And so,
What's
uh,
wrong with that though? I
right,
think it's beautiful.
right. But then it's like, so to have a family in that, right? Like
Yeah.
that becomes more complicated. But I felt that, oh, I'm supposed to be, um, in society, I'm supposed to be this way in that, right? As
Right.
opposed to appreciating who I actually am in that. And so yeah, now I'm okay with it. I mean, I think the only parts that I didn't even like the word regret, but the only part would be just not having kids of my own.
Hmm.
Sometimes, like, I'll see my friends and they're out with their kids, and just feel that little bit of longing of, oh, I don't get that part. Or, I mean, I have
Hmm.
two great nieces, which I love them like daughters. And so that's been really great. But there's just those little pieces, right? That you're just like, okay, like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that didn't happen for me, but
yeah,
I'm happy I'm get to be this aunt to these two
yeah,
great kids and yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's hard. fitting that mold of status quo.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with not having kids, not being married. If that is the choice that, for your lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
perfectly okay. And I think more women need to hear that it is okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because I remember when my husband and I first got married, it was like, so when are you having kids?
Right. You're like, we just
Right?
married.
Like, holy crap, right? And as
Yeah.
time went on, it's like, well, when are you having like, why haven't you had kids yet?
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, I hate when people ask those questions because, you don't know what somebody's going through on the other side.
Yeah. Yeah.
In our case, it was infertility issues.
Mm.
So you're asking somebody and bringing up old wounds because for what desire?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And I'm sure people asked you that too.
Yeah.
When are you getting married? When are you having kids? Oh, none of your business.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? Because then they'll make comments of like, well, if you're not getting married now, like you're getting older, so then you're not gonna be able to have kids, and then and then it's all these little things that you're just like, okay, well, thanks for making me feel like less
Mm-hmm.
and less and less of where I'm at and who I am,
Yeah.
thing, right? And so, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I know that people don't do it intentionally to make you feel bad, but I think just for people to be more aware of that, there are, like you said, there's a lot of depth in some of those things that you don't know what somebody is going through and why those things haven't happened. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, to be just more
Yeah.
sensitive to, yeah,
And be more supportive of that person's choices.
yeah, yeah,
Right? And that we don't need to know why those choices were made for you.
yeah,
We just know that you made those choices, and to respect that.
yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So what's next for you? What is in this next chapter of 50 plus that we have ahead of us? What is next?
Yeah. So to commemorate my 50th birthday, I'm actually doing a new training that I'm going to get certified. So in Zumba, there's another branch of Zumba which is called Strong. Um,
Yes,
yeah.
I've
So
seen it.
yeah. So which is like the high intensity interval training. So I thought, you know what? Like I'm going to challenge myself in that and get certified for that. So I'm going to do that on December 4th. So just before
Nice.
birthday, we'll see how it goes. I did my first class last week, and yeah, it's tough. It's challenging for sure. So I'm not sure
That's
what
good.
I got myself into, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm like, so it's just good. It's good to have something to, challenge yourself with. And then, yeah, I'm actually right now in the middle of working on some training to become a facilitator. So I really want to,
Nice.
yeah, to kind of lead workshops and retreats for women, and just even to just continue to help women that may be on a journey similar that I'm on, to just really embody and love and accept who they are. And so wanting more women to become healthier um, and
Yeah.
and sort of break the mold of what we have been taught to think what healthy means, and to love ourselves in that, and love the way that we look. And yeah, so that's sort of where my next journey is.
That's awesome. Love the way you look and feel, right?
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, so yeah.
Well, I really have enjoyed this conversation chatting with you, finally getting to chat with you in person. Well, sort of person. I keep saying in person because we can actually see each other and converse right now, which
Yes,
we
yes,
haven't
which
been
is
able to do for almost 2 years. So,
totally.
so I thank you so much for joining me tonight. I think it's very inspirational. I think people will definitely resonate with you and with your journey. You are on Facebook and IG. So if you want to follow her story, go to her Facebook page and IG, and we'll put your handles in the comments.
Awesome.
And so people can come and follow your journey and get inspired to get up and move your body. And if
Yes.
you need accountability, buddy, you got two right here.
Yes, yes, we will totally we'll be there. We'll cheer you on. We will root for you really loud. So,
Really loud. We'll be like
yeah.
champions. Woo woo, high five.
Woo!
Thank you
Absolutely.
so
Oh,
much for joining me tonight. I
no.
really appreciate it. And thank you everybody for watching. And next time we'll see you, well, in a week for another episode of What Has Changed Your Life.